All right, well, let's get started. I just wanted to, hey, is the screen up? Can everybody see this okay?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our August webinar, How to Use Automation to Close Your Books Faster. My name is Darren Michael. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development with GForce, and today I am joined by Greg Gotlin, the Solutions Director here at GForce also. Our plan today is to show you how utilizing the automation in the close and reconciliation module will help you to achieve what basically we're all striving for, and that is a faster close. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a live demo, so although everyone is muted, if at any time you have any questions, you've got a couple choices. You can either type them into the chat, you can raise your hand, or you can even just unmute your microphone and ask your question, no problem at all. We will also be recording this event, and each of you will have the opportunity to receive the link shortly in case you missed something you want to go back, or anybody else in your organization might be interested in learning a little more. So our agenda for today's call is pretty simple. The assumption that we're going to be using here is that the bank statements have already been reconciled and we're ready to close the books. Our main focus of today's event will be from an accounting viewpoint, but we'll also be touching on it from a treasury viewpoint. There will be some time at the end for additional questions, but please don't worry. If we're unable to get to your question, or if you have any additional questions, a brief follow-up conversation can easily be scheduled. So let's jump in. Start with a little bit of information about GForce. For those of you that don't know who we are, we've been 100% Infor dedicated for about 8 years. We're going on 9 years now, and we're really proud of the fact that we're business process experts. You know, the software can be the greatest thing in the world, but if you don't have the right business processes in place, it's not going to do what you need it to do. We've got about a 12-year average of Infor knowledge with all of our consultants, and as you can see, we've got a lot of different expertise, FSM, GHR, Burst, Lawson, and some of our specializations deal with optimization, you know, and reconciliation, treasury, reporting, analytics, things like that. So that's just a little bit of information about us, just to give you a little bit of background on who we are and where our focus is. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. And I'm going to ask Greg this question. So Greg, what is the close and reconciliation module, and how is it going to help you to close your books faster?
All right, thanks, Darren.
Yeah.
So close and recon, and we're going to jump into the demo here in a second, but I just wanted to give a brief. What is close and recon? Recon helps us reconcile our balance sheet accounts. It can be not just balance sheet. I can do some other things as well. I'm going to show an example of that as well. But this is trying to eliminate all that manual Excel processes that we've had out there in the past. And, you know, things such as, you know, hey, I'm reconciling my prepaid accounts, and I'm going to talk about prepaids today, and reconciling any of cash accounts or anything that we always had to have a PDF backup, a statement, and then here's my beginning balance on the, and I'm going to share my screen. I forgot to share my screen. Here, let me get my screen up. Right. So beginning balances, whatever that might be, that's what close and recon is all about. And getting rid of those Excel spreadsheets and making it so it's auditable and that it's in the system and that nobody deleted a file by accident out on the server, you know, out on our shared drive that backed up what those reconciliations were for. So without further ado, I'm going to just jump right into things here. There's still some people entering into the meeting too, so welcome as you come into the meeting. But we're going to jump right into the recon side of the house. And if you haven't set this up and you're on FSM already, this is, you know, you should get this started as quickly as you can. And I'm going to talk about that at the very end as well. But these are some of the accounts that I've already set up in my recon. And I'm going to specifically go into and talk about the prepaids first. And under my prepaids, I made them into a group. So I have several accounts that I'm reconciling. So I can group them all together. But I don't have to reconcile them all as one. I just like to group them all together. But I made them individuals, so they're independent here. So I can actually go out there and reconcile them one at a time. So I'm going to just double click on one of those periods. And one of the great things I love about, that I can go in there and do my prepaids is I get to see all the amortization schedules that I'm building out there. So rather than that recurring journal entry that we would count on for our prepaids, and what are prepaids, if I don't have any accountants out there, just thinking about it as, hey, I've got a billboard out on I-75 and it's a 12-month billboard and I'm going to pay $1,000. I want to expense $1,000 a month on that. So I can create my amortization schedules and I can see those right in here. I don't have to go and try to figure out which recurring journal entry was for my prepaids, how many months are left. I can simply just double click on this and I can see what's left. And in this case, I've already expensed out July for 2023, but it's going to end in June 2024. So you can see how that was very easily put that expense that out there. And hey, where's the expense account going to go? So I used an allocation code here. I'm going to just show you what that is. I'm going to hit open here. And I said 50% of it was going to go to my Illinois location and 50% of it was going to go to corporate. So you can see I did a 50-50 breakdown over here. So easily I can allocate out an expense from a prepaid as well, or it can just go to a single expense. I didn't have to do that. I could have simply just put an expense account, one expense account up here and let that happen, right? So going back to my main tab here, just to talk a little bit about it, is I also connected an invoice in here. So when I actually created this amortization schedule, I have the backup. I can click on that invoice there, and I'm going to go all the way back to accounts payable and be able to see that invoice. So I'm in the accounts payable screens now. And I can see under here it had documentation, and I can go in there and look and see the invoice that was in there. It was the billboard on I-75 exit 23. So able to get to that very quickly and know what this is for. So from an audit perspective, again, I'm not having to go to an Excel spreadsheet or a folder that keeps track of everything on my shared drives. It's all right here at my fingertips. So I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to go back one more step here, all the way back to where we were originally, and I can see my period reconciliation. So I've already started my period reconciliation for July, and I'm trying to close out my books, and I can see in here, I'm going for this asset account, this first one in here, and I can see my ledger balance is 16,000, automatically pulls it in. So we don't have to go out there and type into my Excel spreadsheet now, $16,123.15, and then go and add all the details. It's all already pulling this directly from the general ledger. If it's posted, it's there. Okay. So a couple of things here, I can go in there and we looked at that amortization detail already. And we can see that $1,000 is actually getting expensed this month. That's why it's $11,000 remaining on this. It was originally an invoice for $12,000, and we've expensed. I have some unposted distributions out here, and what that means is, hey, this has been entered, but it hasn't been expensed out yet. Okay, so I get to see all this kind of information, but I'm still off by $4,123. What could that possibly be? Rather than having to go in there and go into analysis screens and go deal into there, I can just click on my ledger transactions, and I can see here that someone booked the Florida Power and Light invoice to, and I know it's an invoice because it was a accounts payable distribution here, and they booked it. Obviously, it's booked to the wrong account. So, hey, I'm gonna just go fix that real quick. I can just come over to here to the distributions tab. I'm gonna go back one. I went really fast there, but there's a distributions tab in here. So I can do my write-off or my reclass in this case and put it to where it really needs to go. So, hey, I'm just going to go over there and call it, put to my corp entity there. And I'm going to just go out there and look because I don't know what the account is. And I'm going to say utility and look for there. There's my utility on my income statement there. And that was for, gosh, I already forgot. It was how much that was for. I'm going to go back one step here. I looked at that was 4,123.15. Okay, so let's go back in there and do that. And we'll go over here and put my account back in there for utilities and corp, before I said I was expensive too. And I have to put a description in there. Reclass utility bill. The electric. bill. And I can add comments over here, etc. And I hit that. So now I'm there, and I'm going to go back one step here. And look, I'm not out of balance anymore. I'm going to be booking a distribution out there and post that to the general ledger as part of this transaction. It's going to be listed if anybody's in, maybe some questions out there around what system is that going to come from? It's going to come from the system code reconciliation management. So there's another code out there like AP, GL, AR, payroll. This one is RM, reconciliation management. So we'll be able to drill back to that and see this transaction and why it came there. I could have also asked AP to reclass that as well. Or maybe maybe the policy is a journal entry must be done by the GL department, that the reconciler doesn't do distributions. All options that you can take. And I can come over here and I can say, hey, here, this one's got the Scott's invoice I attached to here as well. But hey, I had that, maybe I had an email that said, hey, just go ahead and reclass that to electric. And I can go reclass approval email. Email from Darren. And I can just, I can even just come over to my emails over here, and I can just drag an email right from my emails, from my Outlook. All I did was drag from Outlook there and drop that file there and hit save. And now I've got that part of my documentation as well. So do something here. All right, so now I've got, really good detailed backup to this, and I'm going to start my reconciliation and hit submit. I'm starting it a little early, and I'm going to release all my distributions. And when I release my distributions and I journalize those distributions, I'm going to be out of balance for just a moment here. Okay? And the reason is, hey, I did my amortization, just got sent out to there. So my amortization distribution has been posted out there. And I had a distribution to reclass, and it says it's been posted, but it's kind of a bad term out there, but I do need to go into my journals in here and find those two released entries out there. There they are. And simply hit quick post for these so that they actually go back and that they're posted in the general ledger. And now I'm back in balance. So you saw those entries. I'm just going to go back over to my journal entries back over here to posted. And again, that was the system code was RM. So it was RM, and I put that in there. And that was the July RM transaction I just had here. So it's a double click on it, take a look at it. It's got my transactions in there. And there's all those, there was the posting for the amortization and a reclass to the electric bill, and has all my, this is all linked back to my prepaid reconciliation that we did right here. All of that's linked to here. So I'm ready. So I'm going to go over to this main tab and just explain a few things that I didn't touch base on yet. But you can see in here that that was part of the prepaid assets. Close team was who I have listed if I was going to do approvals. I just happen to say that it doesn't require approval. Had I wanted to have approvals in there, I can. All right, and I'm just going to come over to here into my resources, and I said it was the close team. So you can add a team out there and just say, hey, here are the people that are required that can approve that. There might be one person in that team. There might be 10 people in that team. You can have as many as you want. And whoever takes action on it first, it's going to mark it as approved and sent back to and completed. But again, I didn't put it as an needs approval, it's not going to go and trigger an approval documentation. I also said it doesn't require any supporting documentation. I might say that for my prepaids because they're always attaching an invoice directly to these, so it doesn't really require that. I'm going to show you one later that does require supporting documentation as well. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit complete and submit that, and now I could hit reopen if I wanted to. If I wanted to go over to the close and recon module, just a minute ago I was here, it's at 60%. I'm going to hit refresh here and see where I'm at. And so I've got some more stuff done. Let's just see. I still have some transactions open. I know that for my period by period type in here, and click on my And here, so I'm still 60%. I haven't get close. And I still have some in process because there's other accounts that need to be done as well. Because if you remember, when I was here in my prepaids in here originally, I had more than one prepaid account. I had several in here. So I had, when I looked under there, I had account 141010, 141020 for both Corp and Illinois. I said, I'm going to reconcile them by entity. So I said my Corp entity and my Illinois entity. So those were the two that there's still three more to go out there that I need to reconcile before that will show as fully closed. And the reason, I'm going to go back real quick here. Oop, back one. That it knew that it's linked to that prepaid task is because when I was in here, and if you remember when we were looking on that main tab here, accounts, and I was on that main tab there, it had a closed task on there. So I said it was part of, and the closed task was prepaids. So when I went back over to here in my closed tasks, it's linked so it knows prepaids, it's in progress. And my whole close process for July, I'm almost done, I'm 60% of the way there. And I can come over here and I can see what's scheduled, what's in progress, total that are open, ones that are closed, and my overdue items. So you can easily get to those transactions. So if there's any questions out there, post them out there for me. Love to answer anything. If there's things that you don't see so far that you'd like me to jump onto, I can as well. But I'm going to keep moving forward and talk a little bit more about the close management module side of this as well. Okay, so when I'm in here, this is my close manager process here, and I can see all what's going on. And graphically, I really prefer the by type here and looking at, hey, I can come over here and see all the tasks that are out there and see what's going on. I get to see this, graphical to me of showing how close I am to being done is much more, it's much easier to look at for me. Couple other things under the close administration, just to show you how easy these things are to set up, managing my processes. I can set up a lot of different things. So I'm in the monthly closing here. So I have, whether it's prepaids, maybe I have some global ledger things, my recurring entries, any allocations I need to run, general ledger, asset closing. I could say, hey, have you done all of your closing, maintained asset interface, released your assets? And then, of course, accounts payable in here. Hey, have I updated any amended invoices, journalized, ran my journalized it for the Lawson users that are just out there? It's like my AP 175. I've run my close process for AP, and I'm doing my invoice accrual. Well, that one's still in progress, and we're going to go run that in Recon next. Okay, so I want to show you how easy it is to reconcile. And we don't think about accounts payable as something that we reconcile. It's like, we run our invoice accrual account, it should tie to the general ledger. So I'm going to go over here and look at that AP trade account. There it is. And I've got one period running right now, July. And I can see I'm off right now by $394,436.13. So very easy to look at this. This is a very much automated process. I'm going to click and change, put a new hat on. I'm going to be the payables manager today. Right? And I'm going to come over here in my month-end processes and run my if you're an old Lawson user, AP 136, but the invoice accrual report. And I'm just going to simply go over here and run this for 7/31/23 for my July reconciliation period. And one little trick you have to do is you do have to select the report distribution over here to make this work. And I have could we see what the staff accountant will see when it comes to their close task? Sure, I'll show that in just a second. All right, so I just submitted that into my accruals into here. So now when I go back over to there and I click on this reconciliation details and I hit refresh, because I ran that, it automatically pulls in the AP accrual report. And look, I'm not out of balance anymore. Why? Because this AP accrual report said that I still have open payables for $394,436.13, which was what we were off. Those are my reconciliation details. So, hey, I'm done. I can hit complete. I love that. It's so easy to do. We just all we need to do is have accounts payable do their process, run that accrual report. That accrual report's done. Now, as a reconciler, hey, I'm on the GL side. I want to make sure that their balance ties to the reconciliation details report. I can hit complete and submit that. So there was I didn't put any supporting documentation out there. So maybe I need to add a little bit of supporting documentation here and put something in here. Docs, email from AP. And I can come over here and drag that email from AP over to here and hit save. And now I can go back. I should be able to complete that task. Oh, I must have something messed up in there. I'll show you that. It should have gone to completed. So the question is, what would this, there's a question out there, what the staff accountants will see when it comes to their close tasks. So if I went back over to my close manager, so the close don't get confused with close manager. It's what your tasks are, what tasks you're managing. You're not necessarily the close one and only close manager. It's what's assigned to you. So you will be looking at here, what are my processes, all of my open information. So there's what I would see as a staff accountant. Can you show how to set up an account you want to reconcile? Sure, I can show that real quick. I'll do that next. I hope that answered what the staff accountant sees for their tasks here, so they can go out here and see the different things that they are responsible for. Right now, I'm responsible for everything in here because I'm doing the demo, but if they were assigned to different people, those tasks that we set up when we were setting up our closed tasks and our closed administrator, when we set up those closed tasks, we actually assign them to a particular group in here. So if I assign this, I'm going to just open this up. I would assign this to a particular closed management group in here. So who they are. So the resource that is the owner of this is Greg Gotlin, or the closed team is who I put there. So I could have put a bank, I could have put treasury there and had a different team that's responsible for that. So setting up an account in Recon, sure. A couple of things you have to know about setting up accounts in Recon if you haven't ever set one up. When I come here, they don't just show up in my Recon account. You must have them set up at the general ledger level. Okay, so I'm going to have to go into my FEG here. Let's just go into my setup in here, open this up, and go to my accounts. And if I had an account out here, and I'm just going to show you one that I already have, well, we said we're going to set up one. So let me just do that real quick. Something that's not set up, like accounts receivable, I think is not set up in there. And you can see at the very bottom here, is reconcilable. This must be checked for it to come over to here. So now I'd be able to add an account, create. Sorry, I needed to go to my accounts, and we are going to find an account that is not in there. Reconcile accounts that are not in the structure. So I can now add this, and I can build this one into my structure. So I'm going to add it to, let's see, where do we want to add it to? We'll go to accounts, and we will add this account to here. Pick my corp. I'm going to pick that account that's out there. That was my one account receivable account. And in here, I can say it's a monthly reconciliation. And thanks for asking this question, because it helps me show you what other systems I can do this. So I can do accounts receivable. And just like AP pulled in that AP accrual report, there's the tieback report in AR. You can run that tieback report, and it automatically pulls in by account. So you can pull those into there. So if I wanted this to be receivables, I would say, hey, know that I'm pulling from the accounts receivable subsystem to pull into there. I must pick my closed task. If I did have a closed task out there, I don't have to have a closed task. I do have to have a team member who it's assigned to. I'm going to assign it to me because I like to be me. And I'm going to say, hey, the closed team is my approvals. This is where I can say, hey, it requires supporting documentation. It requires approval. And then I must pick approval code. Who's going to be that? It's the controller that's going to approve that. So I hit save. Oh, count is inactive. Make that active. Hit refresh. There we go. All right. So I hope that answered how to set up an account. There's a couple of extra little steps in there, but you'll, for the most part, you'll see that that account now exists in here. Where's my AR account? There it is. I'm on it right there. It's the one I'm selected. And one little extra step you have to do, you have to go to the new accounts and say reset the new account flag so it doesn't show up there anymore. Hopefully that helped you learn how to set up an account. And last one I want to show, I know I'm running low on time. I just want to make sure I have time for additional questions, is how to reconcile cash. So I want to go back to those reconciliation accounts. And in my case here, cash, the bank file has already come in, and there's a whole nother module called cash and treasury. It's part of FSM. If you're on FSM, you own it. It's just part of it. It brings in a natural BAI file. It's very very easy to set up. You spend more time on the rules than actually getting the BAI file into the system. I've already done all that part, so I'm not going to get into that side. If you want to see that, reach out to the team here, Darren and myself and Grant, and we'll set up a separate piece to show you how to do treasury management. Also, if on this call, you're on this call and you want to see treasury management as our next series in one of them, let me know. We'd love to have some ideas of what you want to see. So real quick, we're going to go into my cash account, which was this one. And I set this one up and I said that it's using the cash system. So it means that using cash ledger as part of its reconciliation. And I'm going to come over here to my March reconciliation, which is already in progress. And you can see this one says, hey, supporting documentation is required. And by the way, I'm not out of balance. My ledger balance was $272,901.83. The bank statement, the open bank transactions, meaning cash ledger transactions that haven't cleared. As far as remember, I said I've already done my bank recon, and those are still open and haven't come in. And then here's my bank statement balance, so showing you all that information. So looking back at my statement balances here, and I go back to here, I'm going to look at, here's all my outstanding, my unreconciled statement lines, meaning, my outstanding cash ledger lines. These are all the things that are currently in CB, the cash ledger. So I might have open checks that haven't cleared the bank yet. Maybe it's deposits that haven't cleared yet. I deposited it on the 31st, but they didn't clear till August 1st. So all of those are going to just show up here as not cleared yet. They haven't cleared the bank yet in this case. So I'm going to go back. So you have all of that as part of your audit trail. And in here, I have all this. And by the way, I was off by a little bit amount. And in our Excel spreadsheet, we always have that difference and researching or known variances, and we can put that in there. So we can do something similar in FSM, and we can put in what we call reconciliation details or a reconciliation item. I call the reconciliation items more are, hey, I don't know what it is. I'm not hunting for the $300 today. We'll do it next month. I'm kicking the can down the road, if you will. So you can put those types of transactions in here. In this case, when I was doing my reconciliations, I found out that the beginning balance for this account was never added to the general ledger. So the beginning balance of $107,553 needs to be added as a journal entry. I added it as a reconciliation detail. I could have done a distribution for it, or really what I want to do is go into cash ledger and put that beginning balance in there and reconcile it. So I have that in there. So it always a different way to think. You have to go back and forth of what's the right thing to do. And that's how you reconcile your cash system. again, all integrated. The piece I didn't get to show in today's meeting here is that where that statement information came from. It's really awesome if you've not seen the cash and treasury side and how to naturally bring in a BAI file and have it integrate right into cash ledger or reconcile checks. So if you're manually reconciling checks today, think about how easy it would be if you just turn on the cash and treasury piece of this. It's seamless integration. So I'm gonna that's I have one last thing to say. I was talking, a lot of you out there, maybe you're in the process of implementing FSM or have implemented FSM or thinking about it. I will tell you this, don't oh, did you take over there? There, yeah. Oh, did it stop sharing? What happened? Or am I still sharing?
No, I still see your screen. Okay.
Okay. The one thing I was going to say is implement pieces of it. Take prepaids, for example. It's a great one to start with. If you don't, what's going to end up happening? It's going to get kicked down the road, and you're never going to implement the recon side of things or the close side of things. Make it part of your process. Make it simple. Make it take an account. Make it that part of it that, hey, I'm going to do my prepaid accounts. That's a great one to start off with. It's a good bang for buck. And you will start to implement the rest of those accounts as you start to go, as you start to get more comfortable in the system. And, we're out there. You can, I love to answer questions. So sometimes just going out there on a forum or reaching out to one of us to say, hey, you got 5 minutes for a quick question about something. I'm always available for those things. Sometimes it's just, yeah, don't forget to activate the account, take it out of the new, set the new flag. Sometimes it's just a quick ticket to Infor too, but implement it. If you haven't, get on it and put at least prepaids in there. It's so much better than looking at recurring entries. Recurring entries are just sloppy, in my opinion. I hope I didn't offend anybody on that, but there's too hard to manage. I don't know what's out there. I don't know when they really expire. I can run some reports on them, but I don't know what they're for. They're just journal entries out there. I want something that tells me what to do and audits my books.
So Greg, let me ask you a quick question. What is it if you're not doing this? Like, what does it look like? What are we? How are people reconciling?
So yeah, we are prepped for this. Darren and I playing off each other. He was asking me this a little while ago. And this was something I always saw, it was like we had an Excel spreadsheet and it had all the details of my prepaids in it. I did AP trade, but there'd be, one, you'd probably have an Excel spreadsheet that looks something like this. Oh, I'm 3 cents off. Why am I 3 cents off? And known variance. And this is what it looks like in the old school. A lot of Excel spreadsheets and PDF documents that are saved on a shared drive somewhere. So thanks. I forgot to show that.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Any other questions out there? Feel free to go off mute if you'd like. Just if you got additional things you want to see, or let me know.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen if that's popped up now.
That is. So
okay, perfect.
Anybody else out there? I know there was 2 good questions out there. Hopefully I answered those 2 questions effectively. And
hey, Greg, this is Stan from Cuyahoga.
Hey, Dan, how's it going?
We know each other well here.
Yeah.
As we are kind of, we're still on V10 and whatnot. Just kind of for the crowd and for the rest of the team, kind of in a state where we're on V10, we're looking towards options for upgrading in the future. What does this product mean for us today in our current state, and what would it go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I know it because I know you guys. You're currently running. You own Close and Recon. There's a V10 version. I call them the Edge product. So it's a landmark product that's out there, like APIA. There's contract management. There's cash and treasury management, and there's the Close and Recon module. So the only difference, the major difference on the Close and Recon module, the cash and treasury module that is different in V10 that is in Cloud Suite is the ability to book directly to cash ledger. That the CTM module in the Edge product only books to the general ledger, and it's a loose integration. It's still integrated. It still books them across and still pulls in the data. But from a recon perspective, very much the same thing, what we're seeing here. There's no limitation. So you can go right now and start your V10 deployment of Recon and seamlessly move to the future because you'd already built it.
And it'll pull in
Yeah,
it'll
closed
still be
process
able
too.
to, all the information, it'll still be able to capture it from the loss and general ledger tables and, you know, the other respective systems. It'll be able to capture from the Lawson side and absorb it in order to perform that reconciliation piece.
Yeah, it naturally pulls in the general ledger balances. Everything you saw on the Recon side today and the close side today would work in V10 as well, on the Edge product version as well. So if you're out there and you've owned these, a lot of y'all maybe own them and you don't even know it because they're just part of the licensing that you have. So you may already own what Daniel's referring to as they're on V10. There's landmark products that are, I just refer to them as the edge products, on the edge of being FSM. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Definitely take some planning out there to deploy this. If you're using it already and you have some issues out there with it, let me know. I'd love to know. I work closely with development. So if there's something that's not in the system that you would love to put in there, you'd love to see in there, let me know. I have a good contact to Joe Simpson over there, and loves to hear everybody implementing this module because it is a great module. There was a question out there, the price of this module. In FSM, it's just included. There is no price for it. So when you upgrade from V10 to the new version, Cloud Suite FSM, it's just part of it. So there's no price for this module. But in V10, that Edge product, Daniel would know better than I do. So I don't know what that cost is for the licensing. I can, Darren, you might be able to reach out and answer that for Cynthia if we figure out who her rep is and see what they're on.
Yeah, I can definitely let Cynthia know that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Anybody else out there want to see more things? If show of hands even out there, if people are interested in seeing like the cash and treasury module as the next chapter. Oh, I got a Cynthia raised hand. Anybody else would like to see cash and treasury, let me know, and I'll who else is out there? I got Sean, cash and treasury. Anybody else? I got Susan Peterson. Good. All right. Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like we got a good show of hands. I'll put out the next one to show the cash and treasury side. It is one of my favorite modules out there, that just being able to reconcile a bank statement in 5 minutes or less. I mean, that's how I describe it. And whether you're doing credit cards transactions or just plain old cash ledger transaction, maybe have I can show you really quickly how to do it. Maybe have a disbursement account. We can set up several accounts and we'll set that up. It does take a little bit of prep to get everything set up in the system, because once you reconcile it, it's reconciled. I can't unreconcile. Well, I could, but you don't get to see all the fun stuff that happens in that presentation. So we'll definitely, it looks like we've got a few people that are interested in that. And in the comments also, or just, reach out to Darren or myself that if there's other topics that you want to see. I want to make these your things for everybody out there too, that, maybe it's upgrading, better, some tips and tricks on FSM, Lawson things too. I speak Lawson still. So don't be afraid that you're still on Lawson. There's a lot of things that we can do to get you ready to move to cloud. And it is worth it. It is the right decision to make to upgrade. It's not painful. It can be, but really, if you come with us, we'll make it not painful. Anybody else? Questions out there?
No, I think we look good to go. I wanted to thank everyone.
Can we see what the staff?
You got one more? Did you get another question?
Do we have any sessions on ICT activity? I'm not sure what ICT is. If you could, maybe I can reach out to you, Cynthia, and find out a little bit more about that. No, that was it. Anybody else? Well, thank you all for joining. I love having a lot of people on, and I really appreciate it. And if you want to see some additional things outside of what you showed today, or see it again, or dive into something a little deeper, let Darren or I know, and we'll schedule some time again.
Sounds great. Well, thank you everybody again for attending, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody soon. Have a great day and a great week, everyone. Thanks again.